Good afternoon, everyone. Today, our group will give a presentation about language socialization during study abroad, researching social interaction outside the classroom. Our group members include me, Han Yue, and Ya Wei. Here is our contest. We divide our presentation into 3 parts, which are background, purpose, significance in part 1, methodology, results, and interpretation in part 2, conclusion, limitation, and critical in part 3, respectively. Let's start. First, the background of this study. Due to the increasing economic interconnectedness and greater mobility, studying abroad has become a trend in past decades. This study is in US-based setting. Institute of International Education in 2015 suggests that more US-based students are studying abroad than ever before. Compared to language study at home country, living in a target language speaking country typically offers students a wide variety of settings beyond the classroom in which to use a target language on a daily basis. Numerous researches have analyzed the language acquisition during study abroad. On the one hand, some scholars have examined social interaction as a quantitative variable, correlating the amount of time students report interacting in the target language. On the other hand, some researchers have taken a qualitative perspective on social interaction, including the types of interaction in which study abroad students engage, the intensity and durable of social networks, and so on. Second, the purpose of this study. The goal is to explore how a language socialization approach can enrich our understanding of language learning in out-of-class interaction during study abroad. Then, through everyday social interaction, newcomers to a target language speaking country are socialized through language into the cultural and linguistic practice. This research also consists of this illustration. Last, research on language socialization in study abroad examines the disposition, ideologies, identities, and the relationships of different participants. As for significance of this study, above all, an in-depth understanding of what real-life encounters look like is crucial to researching language learning in study abroad. However, students themselves may resist adopting target language norms if such norms conflict with deeply held values and beliefs acquired during peer socialization. Therefore, participation in the everyday activities offer the ideal environment for students to learn to use the target language in specific communicative contexts. This research will tell us in multilingual settings, linguistic and cultural practice can shape language socialization. And this study is going to research on, according to the language socialization framework, how did 6 US-based students experience as they interacted with Spanish-speaking host families, age peers, and service providers in Spain. Okay, I would like to introduce my peer to talk about part 2.
Hello everyone, this is Yue. I'm going to introduce methodology of the study. Now, let's first look at the participants. The study recruits 7 American college students, including 5 females and 2 males. They are all sophomores and senior students from the same college, who have learned Spanish for 3 to 5 semesters, and none of them have ever studied abroad. They are demanded to learn Spanish for 14 weeks in Spain and live with their host family. The course they are studied in are international studies, and the class consists of 90% of English speakers and 10% of native speakers. The people they can communicate with during the learning process are limited to institution staffs, host family members, and language partners, which are also known as age peers. Now, let's look at the data collection. The main resources are audio recording. There are 3 types of conversations should be recorded by participants themselves from week 3 to week 13, including the communication with host family members, age peers, and service encounters. The frequency and number of the recordings are shown in this table. Moreover, there are also another 3 methods that employed in the study, which are weekly journals, interviews, and observation. In weekly journals, participants are required to take down how they feel about the conversations and what they learn from them. In the interviews, researchers ask participants the questions on learning and social interactions, and ask host family members their relationships and interactions with the students and the students' learning of Spanish. During the observation, researchers observe the Toledo community and take field notes of interactions with local people, students, and institute staffs. Now, let's see the findings of the study. Now, let's see the findings in language socialization in service encounters. There are 3 examples provided in the study. In Greta's example, it is usually the case in America that people would say, "How are you?" to the service providers before doing the purchase to show their politeness. However, it is not a norm in Spain. So Greta received a negative reply at the first time when she went to a store. After asking her host family members, she understood that the greeting "How are you?" in Spain means literally "How do you feel right now?" So if she wants to show her politeness, she is expected to have a little talk with the others. In Jared and Samantha's case, we can see from their weekly journals, they have learned how to get service providers' attention in an authentic manner by observing how native speakers say when they want to pay the bill. And in Kyle's example, we can know that it is his host father who provided him with the reasons of the specific language used. So, we can see from the cases above that students are not necessarily able to derive the meanings indexed by specific linguistic choices, because service providers did not engage in explicit socialization or provide explanations about appropriate behavior. The second finding is in language socialization in everyday conversation with host families and peers. The study divided the findings into 2 main categories. The first is humor, and the other is assessment. Now, let's see the humor first. In Kyle's case, He eliminated deadpan humor because he failed to amuse his age peers, and found it works when he revoiced Spanish words and expressions. And in Megan's case, she toned down the aggressiveness in playful teasing of members of her host family. This is because she doesn't want to cross the line and get them mad, which is totally different from what she experienced in her real family, where she can criticize, tease, joke with her parents. As for assessment, it refers to making evaluation comments such as beliefs, judgments, and feelings about the people, places, and events to others. In Samantha's case, she picked up Spanner's use of listener assessments such as "Oh my God" and "That's interesting" in Spanish, so as to show that she was interested in what her partner said. And in Chloe's case, we can note that her host mother gave her explicit corrective feedback to the adjective that she used to describe the Bible study.
Now it is my turn to introduce the last part of this presentation. Above all, it comes to the conclusion section. Firstly, this study demonstrates that socialization approach is an effective way to elicit qualitative issues that occur in the social interaction process for the international students living abroad. Compared with those studies that treating linguistic contact as a predictable variable, socialization approach is devoted to particularizing findings instead of looking for the universally adaptable generalization. Besides, research into social interaction quality can help to trace particular experiences that happen between students and the members they contact in target countries. What's more, from language socialization theory, this study illustrated how overseas students are socialized to the communicative resources of local community, also whether they can and how they apply these resources to be a member in society. In addition, findings of this research indicated that, in a certain environment, students may notice language practice, but still cannot acknowledge and absorb interpretation about social meanings generated from such social interaction practices. Lastly, although some explanations that imply deep insight culture aroused by the social interaction are not totally understood by students, study abroad can indeed enhance students' implicit knowledge of a culture, deepen the understanding of the culture in a target country, and facilitate them to adopt new framework outside the classroom context. Then we will talk about the limitations and suggestions. The first disadvantage of this study lies in that, in the end, students may still cannot understand some underlying social meanings in the interaction process. Longitudinal study can be followed to further analyze whether the situation can be changed and what factors may contribute to such change to make the qualitative research more exhaustive. Another shortcoming is that some particular activities outside classroom, such as games, sports, reading clubs, are not included into the investigation areas. This should be contained to make study areas more comprehensive. The next section is the critique. The sample size in the essay is too small to cover all the social interaction consequences, and the participants are all Americans, so that the research results could not be generalized to a global study abroad context. To solve this problem, more participants from other communities should be involved. Furthermore, the recording buttons were initiated by students themselves, which may lead to a high affective filter, make them nervous and affect their performance. And notice the methodology like observation instead of recording by students should be adopted. In addition, this research may lack of cultural analysis to some degree. These aspects can include value, belief, or religion. Deeper analysis should be conducted. Last but not least, although socialization approaches applied and students' performance and different sciences are deducted, The social contact outcomes are not directly linked to the academic learning proficiency of overseas students, making this study less persuasive. The final section is the discussion question. Do you think language socialization is necessary for English as foreign language students in their home country? Why? If necessary, how can they achieve it?
Thanks for listening.